Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Gay with God podcast, a safe place for us to share our stories and support one another. How long did we know? What challenges did we face? Did we lose our faith? When did we find our way back home? Or are we still searching? The stories you hear on this podcast will melt your heart and strengthen your belief that in God, all things are possible, and you can be authentically gay with the God of your understanding. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I am very honored that you are here. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Gay with God podcast. I am Midge Noble, your host and the author of Gay with God, Reclaiming My Faith, Honoring My Story. I am so excited to bring you this guest today. I've been waiting for probably 5 years. This was something that I had kind of thrown out there, and her wife came on, and she was like, no, no, I'm not feeling it. Well, then I just kind of threw it out there again because someone else had asked about her and was wanting her to come on, and she just said yes so effortlessly. So I thought I'd better get her on right away before she changed her mind. So Char Holsworth is a person that I refer to as one of my besties. She challenges me, supports me, and always makes me laugh. She has had a very diverse professional life, and she is always open to growing and expanding how she serves the God of her understanding. When I asked her to write a short bio in true Char fashion, and if you have not seen the picture of her on the show page, you have got to go see that picture because it is absolutely, truly Char. And she responded, I am a gay Christian trying to survive in Trumpland. Now, isn't that the truth? Aren't we right there with her? Yes. So, Char, welcome to the Gay with God podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, as with all my guests, I just say, tell us your story and we'll take it from there.
Well, I was born.
Thank God. You were
Yeah.
not spawned from an egg. Thank you.
No, my sister always said I was adopted, but I contend that the stork brought me because my parents didn't do any of that.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah. So actually, it kind of starts when I was born because I was born to conservative parents in a conservative family, and at a very young age, found myself growing up in very progressive California.
Mhm.
So going home to mom and dad with Midwestern values and conservative beliefs, and then going out and spending time with friends and in different cultures that are completely have polar opposites of what I had up until, I was 7 or 8, really known. So that kind of started the internal conflict.
Mhm.
Who am I? Where do I fit in this world? And it's just kind of progressed from there. Um, I knew from an early age that I was a little bit different from the other boys and girls because I really didn't care about the boys.
Mhm.
Um, I had, in fourth grade, it was a crush on a little girl. I'm like, this is not normal. And in a time in kids' lives when you're just trying to be like everyone else, like
Mhm.
that was, I didn't have a name for it, but I was like, something is definitely wrong with me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Um, so I was, as my wife was a late bloomer coming to the knowledge of being part of the gay mafia, I was
Yeah.
an early bloomer, but didn't really have a name for it.
Mhm.
And then, of course, on the news, the early 80s is all about, gay cancer and AIDS and
Mhm.
HIV and the political, we can't say the words. And,
Mhm.
these are the minority people that we want to get rid of. So,
Mhm.
that was turbulent, is a really good
Yeah.
word for it.
Yeah. Even
Uh,
if you wanted to be, you didn't want to be.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And with my faith, like when I was young, mom and dad went to church. We went to a Presbyterian church. They loved it. We moved. They couldn't find anything they liked, so we never went back to church.
Mhm.
So I have a couple of Sunday school memories of singing the cute little, Jesus Loves Me songs
Uh-huh.
and fighting with mom about having to wear a dress because that's the last thing I want to do ever, still.
Yes.
Um, and then that was it. Um, I struggled in my teens with both faith and with sexuality.
Hmm.
Um, I drank a lot. I used drugs. Mom and dad found out. They tossed me in a rehab center for the summer. They literally, on the way from moving from, at the time we were in Minnesota, back to California, they dropped me off in a treatment center and then came back to get me to go back to California at the end of summer.
So you never went back to the home you left?
No.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a sin, and they're like, you have to go to AA. And I'm like, I don't know if I belong there, but okay, I'll go. Learned a bunch of really awesome vices in AA because, teens.
Yeah.
Um, and I had some, issues with my siblings because they were like, I know you're going to AA, but do you have a curfew? Why does mom and dad give you a car when we had to buy our own? I'm like, have you seen the
Oh.
prices in California? And then why would I have a curfew? I have a full-time job. What am I going to do? Go out and drink too much coffee and drive? Um, I was fairly responsible and, they were like, well, why don't you have a curfew? I'm like, because I'm home in bed by 10. Come on.
Yeah. I
Um,
have my own curfew.
exactly. I'm tired. I want to go to
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
So it was, mom and dad and my older brothers and sister. And then there was a big di age difference between me and the next youngest. It was kind of like me and mom and dad as our own little family.
Hmm.
So even though I had siblings, I was for most of my life raised as an only child. So it was just these weird older people that would occasionally visit and chat, and that was it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be your equal, if you're supposed to be
Right.
my elder. It was all very weird. Uh,
Yeah.
and again, there was not a whole lot of God ever mentioned.
Hmm.
In AA, they talk about a higher power.
Hmm.
So that was kind of the next brush with faith.
Hmm.
Um, but that didn't really seem enough either. I kind of got the whole, kind of developed that whole idea of God is good, but he's kind of like, in Lord of the Rings, when that evil eye is kind of looking everywhere, trying to see everything at once,
Ah.
and gazing at everything, and every once in a while, the gaze of the eye sweeps upon something and stops and looks and then continues
Hmm.
on. That's kind of
Hmm.
how I felt God was.
Hmm.
Not evil, but trying to see everything at once and not ever really accomplishing that. And occasionally I would, pass through his gaze.
Wow.
I didn't doubt, benevolence or love or friendship, but I doubted the ability to be with me at all times when I needed.
Hmm.
So it was a time trying to, again, deal with sexuality where I felt very alone. Like I had straight friends, good friends, progressive friends, but very straight friends.
Hmm.
Um, and these feelings that I didn't know what to do. There was at one point where I was in a progressive school, and part of that was therapy. So I would go to a therapist, and she's like, I think you should maybe try journaling some of your conflicting feelings. And I was like, all right, well, I'll do that. And then in the guise of cleaning my room, my mother found those journalings and
Oh no.
read them. And then during a family therapy session, brought them up and said, well, your dad's okay with it, but I'm not. And I got up and walked out.
Hmm.
Apparently, my therapist went off on them.
Hmm.
But what I heard was, you're unacceptable.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, well, let me go back and revisit this feeling that I feel is true, and maybe it's not true. Maybe we'll
Hmm.
try something else.
Hmm.
And so I did my best to date men and screwed up every last relationship possible.
Hmm.
And it kind of culminated into when I was 18. I was at my best friend at the time, his house, his apartment actually. And there was actually his name was Grant, and another friend of ours, Kim, and her mom, Ginger. And they were all there. We were all hanging out. And it was just this thought in my head, like, I'm just done. I'm just over this.
Hmm.
And so I went to the bathroom in the back, locked the door, and in that door, if you open the drawer on the sink cabinet, it actually acts as a secondary lock to the door, so you can't open it inward. And I had done that accidentally. I grabbed a razor and I sat down on the floor and I started carving on my wrist.
Mm.
Um, and they realized that I had been missing for a while, and so they came to check on me. And drama ensued.
I
Um,
bet.
they tried to get in. They were trying to use screwdrivers and everything else to get into the bathroom to get to me.
Hmm.
And they got the door unlocked, but that drawer that had been pulled out where I got the razor was blocking them. And so they were pleading, Shar, close that drawer, please. We need to get to you. And I remember sitting there just in despair, and
Hmm.
bleeding.
Hmm.
Um, and that drawer slammed shut.
Wow.
And I scooted myself back up against the door, pulled the drawer back out, and was like, holy crap. And they were like, just close the drawer again, please, please, we need to get to you.
You're like, I didn't do it the first
And
time.
all I could think of, I didn't hear them, but all I could think of was, well, if they got it once, they'll get it again. So, and this is, I've got a dull razor blade. My best friend had shaved his, 2-week beard off that morning. So I was like, this is stupid. And so I closed the drawer. And obviously ambulance and
Hmm.
time in the hospital healing.
Hmm.
Um, and of course there was some therapy after that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that I didn't really utilize very, very well.
Hmm.
But I remember when I was in the hospital, my friend's mom, Ginger, visited me and we were talking, and I said, I'm really sorry. It was very selfish. I was in despair.
Mm.
And I said, had you guys not got that drawer closed that first time, I would have continued. And she said, we didn't close that drawer. You did. We were trying to get a screwdriver through, but we couldn't do it. And I said, I didn't do it. It slammed shut.
Mm.
And so that kind of, we were both kind of sitting there just like, what happened?
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of sat with me for a while, and it should have, I think at the time, made a bigger impact than what it did. It was just kind of one of those things where it's unexplained. Glad it happened. I'm still very, you know, looking into self and not trying to, but it stayed in the back of my head. Like maybe that was one of the times that God actually stopped his gaze on
Yeah.
me.
The gays had arms.
Yes, the gaze had arms. Exactly. Um, but it did do something where I was like, all right, this is a lot about my sexuality. And
Mhm.
if I believe everything that they said, where, God loves me, Jesus loves me, I am not junk because God doesn't make junk, then
Mhm.
maybe this is what I should be. Maybe this is who
Mhm.
I am.
Mhm.
And I remember it was an old cartoon of Captain America, and he used the phrase in the movies in 2016, but it was kind of along the lines of even if everyone says you're wrong, whether they say what you know to be wrong is right, you plant yourself like a tree next to the river of truth, and you say, no, you move. I will not.
Mm.
This is my truth. I will not change my mind. I will stand firm. And so that was kind of the beginning of either I learned to embody my space in this world and accept who I am and accept the path that I'm supposed to be walking, or I give up
Mhm.
and I die. And I really didn't like how that felt when I tried to make that decision. So
Uh-huh.
so then ensued all right, well, let's figure out how to live. And the first step was I went to some of my close friends and told them I think I'm gay. Um, I remember my friend Jessica, she was like, well, thank God you finally realized it. I've been telling people you were for the last year. And swearing occurred after that.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And you
I
didn't tell
told,
me why. Why didn't you tell me?
why didn't you tell me? You're telling everyone else.
I know.
This is why I couldn't get a date for a while. So, oh my gosh. I told my friend Kim and I told my friend, my friend Stacy and Rachel and these are people, most of whom I still speak with today.
Oh.
Yeah, Rachel and I have been friends since I was 15. And they were all very supportive and very, we love you. And um, I remember they started to think, okay, well, we're all straight, but you are gay. You need to be with some gay people too. So all of a sudden, I was dragged to all the gay events that they ever heard of in their entire life, which were mostly m male, because I was the only people that were out and having parties.
There you go.
And drugged to, gay prides and feeling very awkward because I'm there with my straight posse. Um, so it was different. It was
Yeah.
weird. It was not comfortable. And during that time, there was also the beginnings of the internet, where
Mm,
you could talk to people
hmm.
from different places, different time zones, different countries.
Wow.
Um, and so I fell into this chat room on AOL, of all places. And it was a very specific chat room where everyone got into, and we started to learn about each other and we started to talk to each other, and then people started to meet.
Wow.
I met a lot of people that hung out in that room up in San Francisco at some of the at Harvey's, I think, on the Castro. We would have dinner, they would fly in, it would be these amazing experiences.
That's awesome.
But the coolest thing about that room is that's where I met my wife to
That's so
be.
cool.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Yes. So I was in California in San Jose, and she was in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I remember our first little private message where she asked me for my phone number, and I was like, I don't know, are you a serial killer? And she said, well, I've been known to kill off a box of Captain Crunch. I was like, well, here's my number. And so that kind of, letter writing and exchanging pictures and phone calls and, um, email and the whole thing. She visited me, I visited her, um, and then she moved out to California. She made the trip in, I think it was like 30 something hours. And
Wow.
that's with stopping at my sister's house for 4 hours for a shower and a meal. She had a little Penske van with that she shoved her cat and her Basset Hound Sherman and her ex in, because her ex came along to help her drive,
Oh,
as
that's
in
in
typical
gay
lesbian
fashion.
fashion. Yes, yes, of course. Um,
The U-Haul and the X going to the new one.
exactly, to the new,
Classic.
yeah, exactly. And so when Martha told me that she was going to move out, that she was going to take that leap because I had been her previously, she was going to make the first
Mm,
big change and move to me. I said, well, let's date for 6 months and make sure, you can live with my best friend Grant. He's very safe. He's very, trustworthy. Um, we'll date for 6 months, and then we'll just decide if that's something where if you want to continue on, if we both want to continue on. It was a very adult conversation, very
very,
responsible.
very.
Yes, exactly. And then she got there in their tiny little apartment, and she had her little single bed, and I stayed the night and never left. That was it.
That was it.
That was it. So yeah, for first few months until we scraped up some money, we both were small enough to sleep in a single bed, sleeping double in a single bed instead of sleeping single and double bed.
Yep, yep.
And I remember going home one day to get some more clothes for work, and I walked into my room, and my bed was gone. There was a treadmill in its place, and like the room had completely changed. And I was like, "What gives?" And they were like, "Well, we figured you moved out." Well, damn, now I have to be an adult.
Now you do. Yep.
So, um, the thing with Martha though is she was raised Southern Baptist, and so
Hmm.
she she is very devout. And for many years with us together, it was a lot of conversations. I was curious, like, how can you, in a world like this, how can you be that devout? How can you still pray? And what do you mean God sees you all the time?
Hmm.
What do you mean Jesus is with you all the time? I need to know a little bit more about that.
Hmm.
And so occasionally we would talk about that. Um, we spent 4 years, our first 4 years together in San Jose. Um, we were both at Hewlett Packard. We were laid off, which was probably a good thing at the time. since California was going through a lot of weird
Mm,
changes in 2001.
mm.
I told her I would go to the East Coast, but I was hell or high water not going to the South.
Yeah.
So we moved to Florida for 2 years. And then after 2 years in Florida, I moved to North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
yeah, so I've been in North Carolina since 2004, um, and have pretty much given up the fact that I'm going to die in one of the Carolinas. Um, the South has now claimed me. I
Yeah.
sound like I'm from the South. I prefer my menu to be from Southern Pickens. I have embraced most of it, so yeah. Um, the thing was, is that when we moved to the Asheboro area where Martha was born and raised, one of her old friends' mothers decided that Martha and I needed to be in church.
Mm,
So she talked to one of the associate rectors. He reached out to us and we met him at a restaurant. And I told him, I said, I'm curious. I'm game, if she is. I said, but you need to understand, I am aware of what the Southern Baptist Church thinks about people like me and her.
mm-hmm.
And I need you to understand that I am not ashamed of who I am. I have spent a lot of years becoming peaceful and even proud of the unique human being that I was made to be.
Yeah.
Um, I have a lot of courage to stand up in that area. So I was like, I'm not going to back down. And I said, if you want us to go to church, you need to understand that I will not repent. I'm actually kind of proud of us, and we are a package deal, period. Um,
How white
and
did he turn? As white
yeah,
as he was, how white did he turn?
well, he stopped for a moment, and he was for an associate rector of a Southern Baptist church. He's probably more liberal than he should be.
Yeah.
They actually had an alternative worship experience called Awe, and it was more for folks that either, that really weren't okay with regular church. And he said, maybe try that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then he talked to me about, and this is probably one of truly my favorite things about a Baptist church are the small groups.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they are constantly running small groups and they're just a diverse topic. And some of them are short periods of time and some of them are just ongoing, like a Sunday school class.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know it yet, but I really fell in love with that small group atmosphere
Mm-hmm.
that I was going to be introduced to.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Awe at nighttime, and I think it's still going. Um, I met some people. One was a retired Southern Baptist pastor. One was a retired religious philosophy professor
Mm-hmm.
from Baylor. Um, they invited me to some of their classes that they led or were part of, and I said yes. And that was one of the most eye-opening experiences that I have ever experienced in my life. I was introduced to a lot of theologians, Tillich and Kierkegaard and um, Bonhoeffer and my favorite, Martin Luther, although he was a little bit cranky in his older age.
Yeah.
I I was taught, and Martha, she would clutch her pearls like, "How are you asking these questions? Why are you questioning
You're
anything?"
challenging them.
Um, and I knew I would be on the right track because the retired religious philosopher professor, he would go, "Well, technically, in certain groups, that question would be considered blasphemous or
Mm-hmm.
heresy." And I'm like, "All right, well, that's cool. I'm on the right track then. Let's talk about it." And he really taught me to hold up the scripture, hold up to the light. If it passes, then it will withstand questioning. You have to have a base that will withstand not only the pitfalls of life, but questions and concerns and doubt. Um, and so I was taught in my adulthood um, to question
Mm-hmm.
everything, to hold it up to the light, to talk about it, to look at it from all the angles, turn it around and look at it. And Martha was like, I don't know how you do that.
Mm-hmm.
because from the time that she was a child to now, she just accepted what was literally spoon-fed to her on a,
Yep.
from the church.
Because you don't question.
Yeah, you don't
You don't
question.
question. It's black and white,
Exactly.
literal. Yep.
Exactly. So she was like, I don't even know. Like her mind was just blown away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I'm learning. I need to understand. If I'm going to follow this guy, Jesus, and I'm going to accept that God can see me all the time,
Mm-hmm.
I need to understand how they do these things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I need to understand where I fit, where I, as a gay woman, fit into that faith.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I mean, it was a few years that we went there. I stayed with the small groups, and I knew I just really wasn't a fit for the Baptist church.
Yep.
They were not really happy when I would show up at the main services. Um, they were not happy that I was unrepentant. And most of all, after having come to be a Christian, I wanted to be baptized and I wanted to serve.
Mm-hmm.
Two things of which
Women.
um, I would not be able to do as a gay woman.
Right. Or a woman probably at all.
Right. There was some limit to the things that I
Yep.
could serve. And I was
Yep.
like, I don't care if it's just making coffee. I want to serve this church. I want to serve God. I want to serve Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was baptized. I will not say by who, but I was baptized in the night. There was only a handful of witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
It was kept on the down low.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was ever recorded in the books at the
Uh-huh.
church that I was baptized in,
Mm-hmm.
but I was baptized. And it just got to the point where I was like, I can't go to this church. Like I love church. I love my Sunday mornings, but I can't go to a place where I think they're wrong and they think they're right. And my planting myself like a tree on the river of truth is causing a lot of waves.
Yeah.
Um, so Martha and I decided to go and look for some different churches. A friend of mine, um, she suggested that before I start venturing into other towns and longer drives, to check out the church where you and I went for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
Good Shepherd. And I remember there was this tiny little Italian lady, Linda Roberts, that we affectionately call Ma. Um, she was the greeter that day. She met us, and I didn't know it, but Martha had already sent the rector at the time, Father Joe, an email
Oh.
questioning, are we going to belong here? This is the experiences that we've had so far. We do not want to continue with that. And he sent back a message saying, "Come, all are welcome." Um,
And that all are welcome, as I tell all of the listeners on this podcast, do not believe it. Look at their website, look at what, call them and ask them specifically, do
yes,
women serve? Are gay people going to be shunned? Because all are welcome does not really mean welcome.
right. All are welcome at different churches mean different
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Linda greeting us and welcoming us and introducing herself to us and taking us to our seats, and us being at the time still indoctrinated in the Baptist world. We sat, of course, in the back.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is
As
good in an
close,
Episcopal church because you don't know
yeah,
what's going to happen.
right, as close to the exit as we possibly could get and
Yeah.
still be in the sanctuary. Um, um, and she found it. I mean, I heard Father Joe speak. I was blown away by the message that he gave. Um, Decided, all right, this is something that maybe we could go to. Um, So immediately following the service, Linda came back up to us and she said, "Will you come down to coffee hour with me? Because I would like to introduce you to some people."
Mm,
And so she stood in the line as we, were greeted by the priest. And, I told her, I said, "We're a package deal, Martha and I, and, we're not here to rock boats. We're not here to change the way anyone thinks. We just want a place where we can worship without the drama."
mhm.
And she gave me one of those motherly smiles and said, "Okay, sure." And in that little brain of hers, she was like, oh, yeah, they're coming back and I'm going to make them serve in all the places I can get them to be asked in. They're not going to sit in the back anymore. I knew, knowing her now, that she had a plan.
Oh, sure she did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So she took us under her wing, this little 5 foot nothing Italian,
Yep.
Southern transplant. She came from New York.
Hmm.
She introduced us to all the people. She made sure that we had all the food and all the drink and were not left in awkward silence. And we found ourselves going back week after week after week
Yeah.
to listen to, the message of you are loved.
Yeah.
No buts, no regardless of, just you are loved.
Yes.
Which was a beautiful message. It still
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and specifically at the Church of the Good Shepherd, Father Joe was very socially conscious and preached the way Jesus would preach. And if he
yeah.
had something to say about what was going on politically or what was going on, and he would call out the
Yes.
gay people, he would alert people to the gay
Oh, yeah.
drama. And
Yes.
that's what I loved about it. It wasn't just that we are welcome and they'll cajole us. We were actively in his sermons. He was
Yes.
stretching people, first one ever to do a pride mass at
Mhm.
at the Episcopal Church ever, and that was for us. It
Yeah.
was just, you know, that was some rocking times.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. And to see some of that legacy still continue is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were part of that because the small groups that you fell in love with at the Baptist church, you brought to Good Shepherd
I
and
did.
started a really, really good Sunday evening group that went for a very long time.
It did. It was almost a year and a half, which
Yeah.
it's unheard of in the Episcopal Church. Normally
Yeah.
it's a 12-week thing. And I had just set out to do that,
Yeah.
a 12-week study. And I had fallen into a rabbit hole of how the Old Testament relates to the New Testament and
Hmm.
how it could explain some of the really weird things that are talked about in
In the Old
in, the,
Testament.
in both in the Old and New
Yeah. Yeah.
Testament.
Yeah.
Like almost like the Old Testament is the secret decoder ring for the New Testament.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yeah. That was
so
so
it was
brilliant the way you showed how it weaved that when Jesus preached from the Torah, he was always alluding to the Old Testament,
right.
and that was relevant to what he was talking about. And you don't learn that in like the Frozen Chosen churches.
No,
That's
no,
never talked about.
no.
Yeah.
And even with Father Joe, like he was, Bible Nerd 101. I mean, there's only so much you can fit into a 10-minute sermon.
Yes, that's right.
So, he would allude to some of those things,
Yeah.
but yeah, you can't really delve into it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have found over the years that I really enjoy being a Bible nerd.
Hmm.
I enjoy learning how horribly wrong I was about God in the beginning and wanting to tell people about that. Like
Hmm.
it's something completely different than what I understood it to be.
Right.
Um, and to have my eyes opened and the freedom to question, and the freedom to say, wow, that passage that we read was super weird. Are you sure
Yeah.
you read it right?
Yeah.
Are you sure it doesn't mean something else?
Yeah.
Um, you know, having that freedom to really
Yeah.
say those things and discuss it.
Question.
And what does it mean? And how does that inform us now? How does that impact us? How
Yeah.
does that make me better?
Yeah.
Make me a better human being, make me a better spouse, friend, worker. How do I be a better boss to my guys?
Hmm.
It's amazing how the understanding of God and the love of Jesus Christ just spreads out like these tendrils of
Mm,
smoke into every other part of our life.
mm, that's beautiful. But that you have to be really active and alert to do that. You have to make that a priority that you're looking for ways to expand
Right. I
Jesus'
think in the
love.
beginning, I think in the beginning, absolutely, you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who can read the Bible, Old or New Testament, understand it, and not be transformed in some way.
Right.
Um, and to continue to read and continue to understand and continue to be transformed, um, sometimes those changes are just a knee-jerk reaction now, which is really cool when I think about it.
Hmm.
Um, I remember there was a time where I was still attending the small groups at the Baptist church. I wasn't going to the services anymore, but I would still go to the small groups. And we were talking about, that whole what would Jesus do kind of thing. And
Hmm.
we were talking about when he was healing people and I said, I don't know if the question is what would Jesus do? I said, I think because, he would spit in some mud and rub it in your eyes and all of a sudden you see, or he would, smack you upside the head and all of a sudden you hear. And, that's what Jesus would do. The question I think really is what would Jesus have me do?
Yeah.
What should I be doing? How am I the face of Jesus and God in the world today? And those are questions that I ask myself frequently.
Hmm.
And those are questions that I ask myself after I have not been that. How can I go back and fix that?
Right.
Or how can I do better next time?
Right.
And there's always some mercy and some forgiveness to extend to others and a lot to myself,
Hmm.
because I tend to fall on my face more often than not. So,
Well, you got to be moving if you're falling. So you're at
yes.
least you're out there living. Well, and I love the other thing I really loved learning through the experience of going from a very conservative church to the Episcopal church was that sin is missing the mark. It
Mm.
doesn't mean that you've done something that God will hate you for or write you off for. It is just you went in the wrong direction and you
Right.
just need to repent, which just means turn around.
Turn
Not
around.
sackcloth, ashes,
Yeah.
hurt yourself, beat yourself up. Just turn around.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
thought, oh, I've been waiting for a very, very long time for that because in those churches, you grow up with so much guilt and so
Mhm.
much repression that it's hard to just, you know, shake that off. If you've been there from birth to five, you're sunk in, and Martha knows that as well as I do. You're sunk into that oppressive way of living your life and seeing yourself as just a sinner that's not worth anything. And you just pray all the time that you can get to heaven because you don't know how to do it, because we're fallible and we're human.
Right. Right.
So it was
I
just like
think
this
there was,
bright light.
yeah, yeah. I think there was the associate rector from the Baptist church. He told me once, he said, I don't deserve heaven, but because God forgives me, I can go. And I was like, that is weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, like, why would I not deserve heaven?
Mm,
I mean, if you tell me that he loves me, why would
hmm.
I deserve to be with him?
Hmm.
I mean, I understand that I am certainly full of flaws, but repentance is us trying to make different choices.
Hmm.
And it's not about whether we're making choices so we can go to heaven. It's making choices because we love God as much as we try to love God as much as he loves us.
Hmm.
And heaven is just an afterthought, really.
Hmm.
Like, of course he's going to take me to heaven. He loves me. Of course I'm going to see my people again.
Hmm.
So it was an odd thing. And going from, like what you said, a conservative church to the Episcopal church, there was something I brought up in the small groups all the time at the Baptist church was, why are we so serious all the time? Like we read these scriptures, especially Psalms and stuff. I mean, there's some where they're very depressing, but there's a lot of like sing for joy and
Hmm.
happy praise. And I'm like, why are we so serious? Why are we not smiling?
Hmm.
Why are we not having a good time? Why are we not laughing in church? And so when I go to this Episcopal church and Father Joe he tries to make a joke at least once every sermon,
Oh, yes.
so that we laugh. I mean, that was the first.
Yeah.
And the priests after him have all kind of continued with that
Yeah.
as a normal type of thing. Um, there should be joy and
Yes.
happiness in loving and serving
Hmm.
in your faith. If there's no joy, then why are you doing it?
Yes. Yeah. Guilt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yes.
that's not the way to be a Christian. I mean,
No.
it really isn't. And I think that, I think Presbyterians and Episcopalians understand the joy of the journey with Jesus
Yes.
more so than any other
Yes.
that I
Yes.
know, but especially not where I was from. So
No,
there was no joy in that journey.
no.
No.
I remember my first Baptist funeral and they got to the good news and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And it was not good news.
No.
And so experiencing a lot of the rituals and a lot of the aspects of the Episcopal Church, even the Lutheran Church, we've gone to several, American Baptist Church even.
Mhm.
There's joy there, there's happiness, there's life, there's breath. Um, I walk in and I feel the joy of the Spirit, the happiness
Mhm.
of the Spirit.
Mhm.
Sometimes even the wildness of the Spirit when we get going.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it. That's part of that journey.
Mhm.
It's like life. There's sadness, there's seriousness, there's sadness, but there's also love and joy and reveling in those things.
Mhm.
So it's important to, I think, embrace that
Yes. Yeah. Because why are we here if we can't?
if we can.
Jesus had fun. He went to
Yes,
weddings and he went to things and they all had fun. And that they know how to dance and they know how to sing and you know,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. I just the constriction of religion, not the spirituality part, not the walk with Jesus, but the religious part is so closed and
Mhm.
so sad.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
I, for the longest time, literally, until you started that group at church and you started showing us how, we went from here and it's being pulled into the New Testament. I hated the Old Testament because
Really?
oh yeah, because that's where all the condemnation came from all the time that I was
Yeah.
little.
That's
And it
where
was
the
the
angry God lives.
abomination and all the, do what? What'd
That's
you
where
say?
the angry God lives.
Oh yes, it's like why do you want to follow this guy that like wants to spite people and kill people and what is that about? And it was never explained to us, never. And even when I got the BA in bad theology at the Christian college I went to, they didn't tell you any of the good news parts of stuff. I mean, it really wasn't, as a I would love to go back to a seminary and learn the right theology or the more progressive theology because we didn't get it. So,
Right, right.
yeah, I didn't understand a lot of it, and I didn't like what I did understand.
Mhm.
And, so when you brought the Bible project in and we were doing the Son of God, that was the best small group I've
Yeah.
ever in my life been to ever.
Wow. Well, thank you. I
Well,
appreciate
you're
that.
welcome.
I found, I mean, the Bible Project, you talk about it, it's thebibleproject.com.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It was such an amazing trove of treasures
Hmm.
about the Bible,
Hmm.
Old and New Testament.
Hmm.
And it's a multimedia thing. So if you learn better listening, there's podcasts. If you learn better watching videos, there's all the short videos.
Yep.
If you learn better reading something, there's all the articles. But I loved so much that it was put in layman's terms.
Yes.
Because although I have read the Tillot's and the Bonhoeffers and the Kierkegaards and all that, they're very hard to understand for me. I need
Hmm.
things broken down into very small words and in very
Hmm.
simple phrases.
I love the pictures.
Yes, yes.
I
Um,
do.
they did an amazing job, and it's
Yeah.
very not liberal or progressive or conservative or whatever. It's just this is the Bible, and this is how we understand it.
Yeah.
This is how we interpret it in the context, not only of the entire book, but also in the context of the times
Hmm.
it was written or that these stories
Hmm.
were written down.
Right. And why
And
was that put in the Bible? What was it for?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And what is a long parable? Like I kind of feel like Job is just a very long parable. I
Hmm.
don't feel like it's historically something.
Mm.
And why do we pick and choose what's parable and what's not? And
Yeah.
lately it's been um I fell down a rabbit hole of, the world is very chaotic right now. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of hurt happening to a lot of different people. And
Hmm.
and uh And there's a lot of evil happening that we
Mm-hmm.
see on the news and, we hear on the radio and we see in person. And why? What is evil and what is it in this world? Why is it here? And it's one of
Mm-hmm.
the first things that I found was that the Bible talks about evil, but it never explains the origins of evil. It just
Mm-hmm.
says evil is here, and this is how we deal with it
Yep. Yep.
through love and light and joy and faith and obedience to God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we shun evil, we become the light. Um, so it's difficult to hold faith in these times, but if we are to be faithful, then we need to be the light, and we need to be strong, and we need to be courageous.
Mm-hmm. So how are you keeping your light on in Trumpland?
It's Trumpland.
I loved when you said
Oh,
that.
that was coined by Mother Julie. She was an interim rector
She's great.
at Good Shepherd, and she coined the hashtag never Trumpland, I think is what it is.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um, I feel like it's really just meeting people on my path, recognizing them, and listening, sharing a funny story, helping.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm in an area of service right now at work where I have the ability to meet a lot of different people from a lot of walks of life. And um, I explained to a customer once when I helped him out, I said I'm not a retail person, but I try and approach this job like it's my ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I have the ability to make someone's day, really.
Mm-hmm.
There's single mothers that come in and I have the ability to cut them a break.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not what my company would like. It's probably not what my boss would like, but it's the right thing. And these people can come back time after
Mm-hmm.
time after time.
Mm-hmm.
You meet people. There was a movie, I think it was called Wild, and it was Robin
Mm-hmm.
Wright Penn was in it. And she had had a horrible experience and decided to shun everything in civilization. And she bought a cabin out in the middle of nowhere that had no electricity, no running water, nothing. She had an outhouse in the back.
Wow.
And through a series of unfortunate events, found herself at the brink of death, really,
Mm.
and was found by um, a Native American guy that was passing through on his way to hunt. And he helped her and he healed her and he brought her food and he showed her how to survive, how to plant, how to, hunt, how to do all these things that she needed to know how to do and didn't because she was from the city. And one day she looked at him and she said, "Why did you help me?" And he said, "You were on my path."
Oh.
And I thought, what a beautiful scene.
Mm-hmm.
He could have kept walking. He could
Mm-hmm.
have, brought some medication, some food, and went, "Yeah, I've done it. That's enough."
Yeah. Yeah.
But instead, he saw someone, like they talk about on that, the road to Damascus. He saw someone
Yeah.
in the ditch bleeding, stopped, healed them, fed them, put them on the cart, and just like the Bible story, where they housed that person and paid for their time there and for their
Mm-hmm.
food there. He kept bringing that back. It was a very
Mm-hmm.
current story
Mm.
of that old Bible story,
Yes. Yes.
retold,
Yes.
because he was a Native American guy and he was just passing through. She's a white woman,
Yep.
in the modern America, and she had no business belonging there, and yet here he is. So it
Mm.
was not a love story. They were friends. It was not, it
Yep.
was just you were on my path and I decided to help because I could. So I think that's how we be the light. There's people that can do big things. They have a big voice. They have a voice in this world. They're famous or whatever. I'm not one of those people,
Mm-hmm.
but I can meet people on my path and I can be the
Mm-hmm.
light that way. And I think that's
Yes.
what we're all called to kind of do.
Yes. I agree with you. Because we're not actors and actresses and big time evangelisms people.
Hmm.
We're just in this town and
Right.
we're and there's
Right.
always someone on our path, and
Right.
there's always something that we can do to make somebody's day a little bit better.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have a Hispanic family that's our neighbors, and they know that we're safe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just something as simple as you're safe with us, and should you ever need anything, you know to knock on our door. And they
Yep.
have. And that makes me feel really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's knowing and making it aware to people that we're safe, that
Mm-hmm.
we will stand with you when we need to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but should you need something, come knock on the door.
That's very beautiful. And I know that that's the words you stand by too. It's not just words, it's the walk that you do and that you and Martha do together.
Well, she's taught me how to do that a little bit. She's much more generous than I probably will ever be. Has a much better heart than I probably will ever have. But as you can tell by the picture.
Guys, go to the showpadgetempoweredmidge.podbean.com. Now I'm toying with I need to maybe put the other two up there just for I might just have like at the bottom, but the all of your array of pictures. But uh it just spoke to me when I saw that one. It was like, oh, that's Char all the way
My
around, just all the way
my
around.
nerd pictures.
Anyway, so um going way on back because our time together today is almost over, dang it. But going way on back, and you talked about in the early days your mom you had a really hard time
Mhm.
with your coming out. Just for the listeners, can you give them a little update as to whether or not she stayed in that space or how she grew through that?
So mom and dad, they kind of just did a don't ask, don't tell. Um, and Martha was we call it the friend. Martha was my friend for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we just became the girls.
Ah.
So they would, come to the house, we would have dinner, they would, play cards with us, whatever, when we lived in California. They visited when we were in Florida, and of course up in North Carolina as well. Um, it was just really a don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. They accepted,
Hmm.
they didn't like it, but it was the price they paid to stay in my life.
Ah.
When marriage became legal, not only federally but in North Carolina, I told Martha, I said, this is the time where I'm going to officially come out to my family, because I'm not starting our marriage in secret. This is not something that I'm going to hide. I'm
Hmm.
just not.
Hmm.
So I was incredibly brave and sent an email instead of a phone call or, going out there. And I just said, hey, as I'm sure you've known for quite some time, Martha and I are together and it's legal now. We're going to go get married. And, I'm not starting this in you
Hmm.
know, a shady gray place.
Hmm.
I'm going to get married in the light of day. I'm going to speak it in the light of day. And, it is what it is. If you don't like it, that's fine.
Hmm. Hmm.
But this is what it's going to be. Um, and then she actually did the same thing. Which was not a requirement. I was like, this is how I'm doing it. I don't require anything from you. But she did the same thing. She called all of her brothers and her sister, and she said, we're
Wow.
getting married, and this is what we're doing.
Yep.
Um, and of course, her sister knew
Yeah.
she had come out previous, but it became one of those things where some of Martha's family, when they found out we were going up to Washington, D.C. to get married, it was just going to be me, Martha, and her sister LaRue, and my friend Rachel. And there was a lot of other people that said, "Oh no, we're not missing this. We're going to go see this." So what was just going to be, shorts and a t-shirt and a trip to the Justice of the Peace became,
Uh-huh.
me in a dress and
Yeah.
20 people at a a site in DC, and an actual officiant that we called Nanny McPhee. She showed up. She was sick, so she showed up. She did the service, and then she left. And we called her Nanny
Uh-huh.
McPhee because she was there when we needed her, and
And then
wanted her.
gone.
She was gone. I actually think one of the pictures we have in our wedding album is her walking away with her little cane. Um,
That's priceless.
but it was, it was this beautiful thing. I rented this giant limo and we all piled in the limo and went to this beautiful gazebo, marble
Mhm,
gazebo.
mhm.
My nephew was our photographer, and there was partway through there was some Asian folks on segways, and they stopped because they saw that we were doing something, and then they saw it was two women, and they kind of cocked their heads and looking at each, like a dog is really curious about what you're doing. It
Yeah,
cocks
yeah.
its head from side to side, and
Uh,
so he shooed him away, and he likes to tell that story. And then we went back to the hotel. We all had, some wine and a piece of cake and changed into shorts and t-shirts. And I joked that our reception was at Arlington Cemetery because that was the first place we hit on our family weekend in DC. The Clampetts invaded DC for the weekend.
Yeah,
So
got married, went to the cemetery.
that's right. Got married at the cemetery. We got shushed at the changing of the guards. And
Oh, I bet. Y'all, y'all rock.
yes,
It
it
was
was an
gonna happen.
amazing. That was, I mean, it's still talked about. I mean, that was
Mm.
2013, and
Uh-huh.
the folks that were there, they're like, "When are we doing that again?" I'm like, "I'm only getting married once, so someone else is going to have to do it."
Yep. Yep.
But I'll go back anytime. That was, well, anytime after this particular administration is gone.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, that was just an absolutely perfect family friend weekend that I could not have asked for anything better.
That was the definition of love all the way around.
It absolutely was. Love,
Yep.
laughter, joy,
Yes. Yes.
faith. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And seeing you in a dress was just the highlight of my life when I saw the pictures.
I did. I made
I
I
was
made
like,
a,
I cannot believe she wore.
I know Martha's in this, comfortable
Yeah,
button-down shirt,
yeah,
vest, and
vest, yeah.
and she had I think it was Catwoman Converse high tops. I'm in a dress and heels, and
I mean, you did it.
I did it.
You
Had the
did the wedding
hair
thing.
and
Yep, you did.
makeup, and oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yep,
It
yep.
was moving, and
Yeah,
we had been together for 16 and a half years at that point. So I
yeah,
was like, I mean, this is just really for paper. But
yeah.
then when it was done, it was something that changed. It was, and not that we didn't love each other more or anything like that. It was just more
Hmm.
of a settling.
Hmm.
This is us.
Yeah,
We're done. This is how we're gonna be now.
yeah.
It was more, but I still can't.
It's a completion. Even though
Yes.
you're not going
Yeah.
to grow after
Yeah.
that, but it was a completion of this is real.
Right.
And
Right.
now it's on paper, and it does make you feel different. I mean, Sue and I were together for a very, very long time before we did the Holy Union, and I didn't think we'd ever do anything other because it wasn't going to be a thing. And
Exactly.
then when it became legal, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I deserve that and I want that. And so
Yes.
we did it, and it does feel differently when you have a paper. I don't
It
know, it
does.
does. It just feels different, but it's a
It does.
completion,
Yeah.
and that circle comes together, and it's like, okay, now we're done. We got it.
It was the same, just more for
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, it was amazing. And to have everyone there was, I don't
It
have
was
words.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. This conversation has been beautiful.
Mhm.
I have enjoyed this tremendously.
I'm glad
And
I got a voice that I can actually
I
speak. I've been without a voice for a couple of days.
I know, I
My boys
know.
at work were happy.
Yes, I'm glad you have recovered and you got what you
Oh,
needed. That's
yeah.
awesome. And I'm glad we were able to jump on here sporadically and just get her done. And
Yes.
I will have this ready and post it on Monday for everybody
Okay.
to hear because it's not Monday, guys, but we're gonna
Yeah.
but we will post it on Monday.
We will post it on Monday.
But I appreciate you so, so much, and I thank
Absolutely.
you for a great episode. And guys, thank you for sharing and being on this podcast with me week after week and giving comments and guiding who I actually interview. Because those of you who want somebody to go a little deeper, I've got and this isn't going deeper, but we went deep, and I appreciated it very much. This was awesome. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. And if you go to the show page at empoweredmidge.podbean.com, you'll be able to find Char and her pictures and And you just gotta, you just gotta look. You just gotta. So thank you, everybody. And check out our Facebook group, Gay with God, where we do a monthly Zoom group entitled My Faith Journey. If you need support to help you through your coming out and or faith journey, go to the show page at empoweredmidge.podbean.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, and see how you can connect with me for a free and confidential session. You can also find on that show page a place where you can order the book and get a signed copy of the memoir, Gay with God, Reclaiming My Faith, Honoring My Story. If you are listening to this podcast and are questioning whether you can be gay and be in a relationship with the God of your understanding, if you identify as LGBTQIA+, are not even sure if you're gay, God has always been within you. Even when you didn't know it, you have always been gay with God. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned to see how you can join the Gay with God community. And as always, you are loved. I want to invite you to become a part of the Gay with God community. How can you do that? Stay connected by messaging me your thoughts and comments in the comment section under the downloads of the show on the Gay with God show page. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and share so we can increase our community outreach and be a light to those who are struggling to claim their faith. Consider being a sponsor so I can highlight your service in our community. We are all worthy of respect and a relationship with the God of our understanding. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast. Together, we as a community will keep this show visible and our community stronger. Deep gratitude to my friend Tim McClendon of Tim McClendon Music for allowing me to use an excerpt from Interlude 4, a song found on his CD entitled Sundance.